Right now on the National Weather Desk, as the grueling task of finding victims of the Texas flood continues, we'll take a closer look at why there wasn't an alert system along the river.
This ought to be a catalyst, okay, to implement a more robust
Right now on the National Weather Desk, as the grueling task of finding victims of the Texas flood continues, we'll take a closer look at why there wasn't an alert system along the river.
This ought to be a catalyst, okay, to implement a more robust system.
While in New Mexico, the cleanup is underway after flash flooding claimed 3 lives there.
This represents truly unprecedented flooding in our community.
A wildfire is spreading not far from Seattle.
Scary knowing how close the houses were and how fast it was spreading.
We have an update on what we can expect during hurricane season.
The adjustment is due to high wind shear in the Caribbean, which disrupts hurricane formation.
And should we be concerned about a series of earthquakes near Washington's Mount Reineer?
Seeing this many earthquakes in a short amount of time is unusual.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. The search for those still missing in the Texas floods continues for a 7th day today. As of this morning, officials confirm 120 people have died. Most of those are in Kerr County, where Camp Mystic was located. 160 people remain missing. Crews are searching more than 200 river miles, going through very heavy debris looking for people. Christina De Leon begins our coverage.
Search crews are still working to get to most of those remote areas.
There are rural areas that may experience extended response times, areas where cell service is spotty, where the area is single-lane bridges and low water crossings.
Kerr County Sheriff Letha's comments came just 5 days after historic flooding devastated areas along the Guadalupe River. By horseback above the searchers are still looking along the banks, and by K9 on the ground, search and rescue crews continue here. This group came from El Paso to help any way they could. Even a makeshift dam was built to help. with the flow of the water from crews in Upton County.
We brought out some big heavy machinery to move things and, take trees, move things out of the way.
Meantime, big questions remain about the lack of sirens in the area and about if there was a delay sending out a mass emergency alert Friday morning when the flooding catastrophe was unfolding.
I believe those questions need to be answered to the family of the missed loved ones, to the public, to the people that put me in this office. Those need to be, and I want that answer, and we're going to get that answer. And I know that's going to be asked over and over. Please understand that. We're not running. We're not going to hide from everything. That's going to be checked into at a later time. I wish I could tell you that time. I don't know that time.
In the meantime, cleanup here will continue along with the search for everyone who is missing. That is something local officials have said will not stop until everyone is accounted for.
The wait to learn the fate of loved ones is agonizingly slow for families in Texas, but search crews are vowing to continue until everyone is accounted for. Tom Rousey has more.
This property, about 4 miles east of the heart of Center Point, has been owned by the Hoekstra family for more than 50 years. On July 4th, they could not have sat here because it looked like this, underwater. They've seen bad floods before, but this one is hitting harder.
78, it was bad, but this time there's been more lives lost and people missing, and it's a shame.
They say 5 days later, they are starting to see more and more searchers come this far east looking for the remains of those who died in the flooding.
We're seeing quite a bit more activity that's happening in this part of the river, so we know that they've been working hard.
Sources tell us the remains of at least 2 people were recovered in this general area Wednesday. One appears to have been close to here.
It's rough going through the brush.
Meanwhile, searchers, many of them volunteers, continue braving very difficult conditions.
Try to really find anything, belongings, of course, people, children that we're still looking for.
Coast Guard veteran Christina Bonaparte from Leon Springs was part of a volunteer group that started their day searching near the central part of Center Point. Then, like more and more crews are doing, they moved their search east, the same direction the Guadalupe River flows. They say their motivation to keep going in rough conditions is to help the families whose relatives remain unaccounted for.
If you can help find anyone to help a loved one move on, having that closure is a huge thing.
I'm Tom Rousey reporting.
Why wasn't there a warning system along the Guadalupe River? We'll take a closer look at that coming up in about 8 minutes. New Mexico is also recovering from catastrophic flash flooding this morning. An adult and 2 children died after water swept through the village of Ruidoso. The floods were driven by heavy monsoonal rains falling on burn scars from wildfires last year. An estimated 50 homes are damaged or destroyed. Melissa Herrera has more.
Officials say a flood watch was issued Tuesday morning and then was upgraded to a flash flood warning at 2:20. Nearly 30 minutes later, it was upgraded to the highest level, a flash flood emergency.
The alert sent for Cedar Creek and Paradise Canyon area. That was to let everybody know to go to higher ground immediately. The outdoor warning system was not activated yesterday as it is specifically reserved for full town evacuation scenarios.
Village of Ruidoso Mayor Lynn Crawford says that they received 3.5 inches of rain from the South Fork burn scar in about an hour and a half, and that water rushed directly, impacting certain areas near streams and rivers. That led authorities to conduct about 65 swift water rescues, and 3 people were taken to the hospital and they are now in stable condition, and 1 person is still missing. Meantime, authorities are still assessing the damage to roads, homes, and businesses. Some businesses have been reopened, but a timeline for full repairs is still to be determined.
There's areas of Upper Canyon, Black Forest that are without water and most utilities. So we said from last year during the fires and the subsequent floods that this is a 3 to 5 year process and could possibly be longer.
Police body camera captured a dramatic rescue during floods in Oklahoma. A driver was trapped in a nearby submerged truck on Tuesday. The person also recently underwent knee surgery. Rescue crews pushed the truck to higher ground and got him out safely. Flooding also led to an evacuation at the nearby Boys and Girls Club. President Trump's pick to lead the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association faced a Senate confirmation hearing on Wednesday. Dr. Neil Jacobs' nomination comes after hundreds of scientists and meteorologists have left the agency through buyouts, firings, and retirements. And the hearing comes just days after the Texas flood disaster, where people didn't know about the impending disaster.
Even if you have a perfect forecast, if you can't get the information to the people, it's totally useless. And so having a way to distribute the watches and warnings, and particularly in regions that don't have good cell coverage, and modernizing the way to distribute these watches and warnings is something that is going to be a top priority of mine.
And to hear more from Dr. Jacobs, head over to our YouTube page. Emily Gracie interviewed Jacobs last year for her podcast, Off the Radar. You'll find the segment in our interviews playlist. Evacuations are in place in western Washington state, where the Tunerville wildfire continues to grow. The Department of Natural Resources says the fire has burned up to 100 acres since it started Tuesday afternoon. As Stella Sun reports, the fire is 0% contained.
In Belfair, just off of Tunerville Road.
When I got home and the fire, or just the smoke was right there, and it instantly startled me.
Firefighters working around the clock as the Tunerville fire threatens 50 homes.
I watched all the helicopters. It started with one and then multiple came in, and they went for a couple hours.
Go Now Level 3 evacuation orders are in place for Tunerville Road communities.
I mean, from the tree line to the other two spots I caught on fire was 5 minutes, and then it just kept spreading and then just crawling up that hill and closer to the tree line.
As the fire grew closer, neighbors coming together to create a barrier line, clearing this path of vegetation.
Well, my dad has a mini excavator, and then another person has one. And so they came out and they made a fire line down this way and then kind of all around the back, and then kind of just worked away behind the fire, just kind of made a fire line. And then a few other people came out with shovels, and then DNR's been working around, so.
Right now, the fire is estimated to be 70 to 100 acres, but that could change.
DNR is flying drones right now to look for hot spots, as well as get an accurate mapping of the fire area.
As warmer and drier weather is expected this weekend, fire officials have this message.
So as we enter into our drier and hotter months, just making sure people are aware and thinking about fire safety.
And heads up, sky watchers, July's full moon will peak later today. You can get the best views by looking at the southeastern horizon. July's full moon is called the buck moon because it coincides with the time when male deer, known as bucks, are growing new antlers. If you get photos of the moon, be sure to send them to us by going to this station's website and finding the Chime In tab. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look into why there were not better flood alert systems in place along the Guadalupe River in Texas, and hear from officials who say they've been pushing for better warning systems for over a decade.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti. We look at the Northeast. We have a wide range of temperatures on the way in the Northeast today. A large portion in New York and New Jersey will top out in the 80s. Some areas in New England where we have more clouds will stay in the 60s and 70s. Let's walk you through the day. Notice some steady rainfall through parts of New England during the morning. That's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Best chance for a thunderstorm will be in areas that get the most sunshine. New York, Vermont. There could be some strong to severe. Temps will be in the 80s to near 90 on Friday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region, still tracking that summertime pattern where during the daytime hours in the morning, we are talking about hot and humid before the afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms pop up, and they'll happen right ahead of this cold front here going into your Friday as well. Hardly a change. We will keep these chances all the way through the weekend. High temperatures may come a little bit earlier. We're talking about in the early afternoon near the 90s, but anywhere under the rain-cooled air from the showers and storms, it will be a bit cooler.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Readers. A look at your forecast highs for today. Mobile, 90 degrees. Nashville, 87. Birmingham, looking at 84. 90 in Charleston. Jacksonville, 93. And Tampa at 93. We're going to continue to see some spotty showers developing in the afternoon. We have some sun across parts of the southeast down towards Mississippi. Jackson, looking up towards Raleigh, some sun and clouds. Jacksonville, some sun and clouds. But we get those pop-up showers and thunderstorms with that heat and humidity through the day. And through the evening, it'll start to calm down and clear out.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
From the beginning, officials in Texas have faced tough questions about why they don't have a better flood alert system along rivers. Our station in San Antonio has been digging through government records, showing some county officials have been pushing for a warning system for almost 10 years. Jay Avila has the latest on what he found.
One of the solutions Kerr County commissioners discussed back in 2016 was installing flood warning sirens, like this one here in the community of Comfort, to warn people that floodwaters were rising. But none of the changes were approved. This is the sound people in Comfort, Texas hear every day at noon when one of the community's 2 tornado sirens is tested. July 4th was the first time the volunteer fire department used them as a flood warning. Do you think it's an important thing that other communities should do to save lives?
Well, it's something to look into. You know, it's just another tool in the toolbox to alert people.
Comfort sits along Cypress Creek, which feeds into the Guadalupe River.
If I was at the creek and I heard that, I would know that, hey, something's going on, because they don't set that off willy-nilly.
Comal County also has a series of sirens along the rivers there that can be used to warn campers, tubers, and people in RVs about flood danger.
This is a test of the new Braunfels outdoor warning system.
After flooding struck central Texas in 2015, former Kerr County Commissioner Tom Moser pushed the idea of sirens because of all the summer camps in the area.
At that meeting, there was an objection to sirens because of false alarms that would be going off throughout the county.
Minutes from that meeting show fellow Commissioner Buster Baldwin remarked, "The thought of our beautiful Kerr County having those damn sirens going off in the middle of the night, I'm going to have to start drinking again to put up with y'all." Ultimately, county commissioners pursued a system without sirens that instead would upgrade water gauges and sensors along roadways and a website to alert the public. They requested a $1 million federal grant to pay for it, but the Texas Department of Emergency Management, which distributed the grants, did not approve their request. In an email, the agency told us that application was not approved due to the county not meeting federal requirements, including having a current hazard mitigation plan on file at the time. Kerr County requested the money again in 2018, but that year grant funding only went to counties impacted by Hurricane Harvey.
So in hindsight now, we could have done more. And should we do more? This ought to be a catalyst, okay, to implement a more robust system.
As we've reported, the governor has promised to consider flood alert systems for vulnerable areas at the upcoming special session of the legislature.
I think it's an important piece of the emergency management of any community.
The assistant fire chief here in Comfort says that it only cost about $20,000 to install this new flood siren, and they paid for it with a grant from Kendall County.
Meteorologists at Colorado State University have updated their outlook for the Atlantic hurricane season. Marion Caldwell explains what's changed and why.
Well, forecasters at Colorado State University have made a bit of an adjustment to their 2025 hurricane season outlook. Originally, CSU predicted 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. But in their latest forecast, released just Wednesday morning, believe it or not, they've downgraded those numbers to 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes, and only 3 major hurricanes, knocking each category down a notch. The adjustment is due to high wind shear in the Caribbean, which disrupts hurricane formation. An elevated wind shear in the months of June and July often signal a less active season. Still, though, other conditions remain favorable. The Pacific is in a neutral ENSO phase, meaning neither La Nina or El Nino are present, which could lead to above normal activity. In addition to that, water temperatures are still warmer than average, although not as warm as this time last year. Nonetheless, both of those factors can still support hurricane development as we progress into the season. All that to say, CSU's tropical meteorology team sees just a slightly above normal risk for a major hurricane striking the U.S. or Caribbean in 2025. Bottom line, regardless of the forecast, it only takes one storm to make an impactful season, which is why it's important to always have a plan and be prepared.
A swarm of small earthquakes was detected at Washington's Mount Reineer Tuesday morning. Seismologists say that although the earthquakes are not a cause for concern, it's something they're keeping an eye on. Meteorologist Stella Sun has more.
Standing tall at 14,410 feet, Mount Reineer is the highest peak in the Cascade Mountain Range.
She's just really powerful, the way that she stands in the skyline.
An active stratovolcano covered in glaciers and ice, Mount Reineer is closely watched by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, which monitors earthquakes in our region.
We woke up to lots of notifications that there were a lot of little earthquakes at Mount Reineer.
PNSN detected hundreds of earthquakes under magnitude 1.7 since 1 a.m.
We do detect seismicity regularly at Mount Reineer, so it's not out of the complete ordinary. However, seeing this many earthquakes in a short amount of time is unusual, but it's not unheard of.
PSNS says 9 earthquakes a month is normal. This is the largest swarm of earthquakes since 2009.
Don't freak out.
Swarms typically happen 1 to 2 times a year, but it's usually smaller in terms of the number of quakes. The last large swarm at Mount Reineer in 2009 had over 1,000 small earthquakes.
A swarm like this for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days is not really concerning.
As the earthquake experts do their jobs monitoring the mountains, they say all we need to do, take in the beauty.
I have probably like 5,000 photos of just the mountain, the snow-capped peak, and like a clear day. It's just, oh, it's so good every time.
One way to beat the summer heat is getting out on the water. Paddle sports are growing in popularity, but so are the number of deaths and injuries associated with them. Christina Giardinelli has more.
I've got mine here, so let's head out. One thing a lot of people don't know is the type of leash on your board should be catered to what kind of water you plan to paddle. If you're going to be on a lake where the water's pretty still, something like this will do. Simply take the Velcro strap and put it onto your ankle. Make sure it's fastened well so that if you fall off your board, you won't lose it. But if you're getting out on moving water, like the Willamette here at Selwood Park, you're going to want a quick release leash. There are a number of quick release leashes online that cost anywhere from $35 to $75. I MacGyvered a cheaper fix. I bought this tactical belt online for $10. It attaches to the paddleboard leash, and then you can just strap it around your waist. The main purpose of this is that if I fall off my board and my leash gets caught on a rock or a log at the bottom of the river, now with one quick click, I'm free from that entanglement. Now I've got my life vest and an emergency whistle I can use to signal for help if I need it. The Oregon Marine Board says those quick release leashes are a lifesaver, and many of those fatalities were caused by leash entanglement.
Time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over the coast of South Carolina.
Well, good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly. Pretty much everybody is seeing the same thing. Hot, muggy. We're into the mid-90s into the Central Plains. Everybody else pretty much into the mid to upper 80s. Rain showers continue to move across the Central Plains and into the upper Midwest. I think we're drier tomorrow into the Ohio Valley, but that rain does start to slide its way towards South Bend and Toledo as we get toward the weekend.
Good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and we will see mainly dry weather across Texas. Just a slight rain chance near the coast. Louisiana, scattered showers and storms will be in the 80s. Also, Saharan dust will be spreading north through the day into a Friday as well. Friday forecast, mostly to partly sunny skies, a little hazy, and just a low-end rain chance. Louisiana, portions of southeast Texas.
Well, hi there and a good Thursday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we're talking about the fog back along the ocean beaches in California, at least through the Golden Gate Bridge, with just 67 in the city by the bay. Later today versus 114 in Phoenix. Denver, Salt Lake City cooling off into the 90s after running so very warm for the last couple of days. Chance for some thunderstorms again blowing up over the Four Corners later this afternoon. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Eastern North Carolina is no stranger to flooding. Many communities have come to expect flooding every year. Elena Laster tells us about a state environmental quality program that's working to bolster North Carolina's flood resiliency.
The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality established the Flooding Resiliency Blueprint in 2021.
But the more we can do resilience work, the more we can get a leg up on floods and get ourselves in a position where not every flood has to become a human disaster. Anybody who's from North Carolina knows that hurricanes and flooding, especially in the east, but also now in the west, we know very well, is a big part of North Carolina life.
It now has over 50 programs in place through program partners to reduce flooding in our state.
Working towards putting more and more effective flood resiliency projects in the ground so that communities see a difference.
We would love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on the National Weather Desk.